Hey everybody, happy whatever day it is. Happy Friday. Yay! Happy Friday. Happy Friday evening tutorial. I am so glad that Lori got her box finally, and yeah, it's I have the same problem. I used to have bead vendors who would come visit me, which I still could if I wanted to. Not those particular vendors because they're out of business, but they would always have beads in like plastic tubs. So they would sit you with a full tub on one side of you, and thank you. I went for comfy today, Keiko, and this is one of my new bad tummy purchases. Is this shirt? The decal. I would be astonished if this decal survives one washing, but I'm gonna enjoy the heck out of it while I still have it, and maybe it'll get some kind of fun distressed vibe. But yeah, I just was not feeling the fancy this morning at all. I had to go do some consulting work at 10 a.m. and it was like, oh god, like 10 a.m. just like busted me in the face. So and yes, bead Tetris is Heather's magical like that, about getting all the stuff in there, and also things shift. But yeah, so this vendor, you'd always have a tub to your right, which was full, and then a tub to your left that was empty, and you would go through and select, and like even after I had bought beads from these tubs, they still didn't fit back in. Like, how in the world? It's magic. So I promised you all a tutorial on teardrop wrapping, or a refresher for some of you on teardrop wrapping, since we did do the teardrop sale last week, I think it was, and so just kind of a refresher of what you can do with these awesome this awesome shape of stone. It's a little intimidating, I know, for some people, because it is a slightly more complex wire wrapping technique than your basic straight through the middle, but trust me, once you get over your fear of teardrops, they're amazing. You can do such great stuff with them. They look so expensive and so gorgeous. Sometimes they are so expensive, but even if they're not so expensive, they just add a really great look to whatever your project is. So because I know my clientele, I'm doing labradorite for my earrings tonight, but I picked some from my dish that have more of the golden and yellow sheen to them, because I feel like these poor babies sometimes get, they don't get as much love as their blue cousins, and I think they're pretty and shiny, and I think they deserve just as much love. Plus, look at that one, it's got like this rainbow stripe down it. I think they deserve just as much love as their blue cousins, so we're going to put those there. We're also going to need a piece of chain, hence the name Chain of Tears. So if you are looking to make a cascade earring, which is what we tend to refer to this type of earring. Good Lord, how many chains do I have going around my neck? We tend to refer to this type of earring as a cascade earring, and you need a base. You need something to attach all of your teardrops onto, and that's one of the things that seems so incredibly simple, but if you don't have this, you don't have a base, then there's literally no way you can make this earring. So I have and I try to pick a chain that's not going to be too tiny and difficult for me to work with. I usually will try and pick a scrap for a project like this, because we have those lying around the store all the time, and and they're not good for much else. Like a 1 inch to 1.5 inch piece of chain is pretty much only good for an extender or an earring. There's really, or if you are doing a linked chain of beads. But so I usually try and find a scrap for this. So I've got this pretty little textured gold filled chain that we don't carry anymore because it got dumbass expensive. That was before 7:30, so if this was a sales stream, that would be a drink. And then we're going to need a pair of ear wires. And I'm actually going to attach my ear wires before I attach my beads. The reason for that is when I've got a little scrap of chain like this, it's really helpful to have something that'll function essentially as a handle that you can hang onto. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my, thank you Lori, drinking in solidarity. Cheers. Apparently I had to do a double drink for that one. So yes, I do have a chain nose pliers. I have 2 round nose pliers. I have no idea why. There's really no reason in the world I should need 2 round nose pliers. But Hi, good vibes. No one's been crying. It's tears of gemstones. So maybe somebody has been crying. Tears of labradorite. You never know. Um, right? I would bet you that if Corbis could cry tears of labradorite, she definitely would, for sure. Um, but then it's like the fairy tale with the princess who, dropped pearls and things out of her mouth, and it's like that, would get so inconvenient eventually. I think eventually. But I think I did write a story that was a riff on that sometime in high school about how really just terrible that would actually be to have just gemstones, just basically be like vomiting up gemstones with every word. Like, it sounds really romantic when you read it in a fairy tale and you're like, yeah, uncomfortable. Ooh, yay! I love thrift shopping. I haven't been in forever. What'd you get? Good vibes? Also, do you still have the pygmy goats? Asking for a friend. Not really, I'm asking for me. Okay, so, and the last thing you need, of course, is you're going to need wire, and as I've said before, with teardrops, you want to use a thinner wire because the holes in the top of the teardrops are typically smaller than the holes in a lot of center drilled beads, and that construction on the top, that top of the teardrop with the hole drilled through it, is a little bit fragile as well. So if you use too thick of a wire, even if you can force it through there, sometimes when you bend it up, which we'll talk about in a minute, you'll actually pop the top off of your teardrop, which is less fun because now you have a teardrop that has no hole and therefore is not usable as a bead at all. Oh, I'm sorry about the fat rat. Now you have a different fat rat? Okay. I still like saying fat rat. Okay, so... Oh, yay. Lego store is fun. Okay, so I'm going to take my wire and cut myself a piece. Doesn't have to be any particular length. I like working off of a little longer piece, so I'll work off of a piece that's like 12 to 14 inches, but that is not everybody's cup of tea because sometimes it is kind of like swooshing around, and I'm not going to say I've never hit myself in the face with it because that would be a blatant lie. It's easier to not hit yourself in the face if it's shorter, but you wind up with less overall waste if you work off of a longer piece, which is why that's what I tend to do. So the first thing I'm going to do after I've cut my wire, I've got my beads here, I'm actually going to, as I said, cut my chain in half and put my ear wires on there to act essentially as handles, or places where I can hang on to my piece while I'm working with it. Now, to cut my chain in half, I need to find something pokey, which you would think, considering what I do for a living, you would think that would be easy, but you would be wrong. Okay, there's a drill bit. So my favorite way to cut chain into equal lengths is to take something and hang the chain up on it. You can very clearly see when I change the camera. You can very clearly see on the bottom right there. Yeah, that's the length I need to cut to get two equally long pieces of chain. And if there are two links hanging in the middle, then that means you need to cut both of those links. So now I have two equally sized pieces of chain. And I can put that back. And then I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and attach my ear wires one on top of each. And again, typically this would be my last step, but these pieces of chain are so small that I want something to hang on to. And so just how small are they, you ask? They're about an inch long. When you're making an earring like this, you need to remember that your drop at the bottom is going to add length, and also that your ear wire itself is going to add length. So what I find when I'm doing earrings like this is the chain length that I think I need is oftentimes a little bit longer than I actually need. So we can always shorten these up if we need to at the end of the process. I'm just going to take my chain nose and open that up, drop my chain onto there. And I'm going to show you another. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up on these. So there we go. And I'm going to show you a little trick as well for making them look more full at the top. Alright, so there's that. And so now I've got a nice little place to grab this that's a little bit less fiddly than trying to grab the chain. Alright, so now I do need one of those round nose pliers. So you are going to need just your basic wire wrapping tools for this. That's going to be your chain nose pliers and your round nose pliers and your wire cutters. We're using a fairly fine wire and a fairly fine chain, so you can use your nice precision wire cutters. You don't need big heavy honking ones, but if that's all that you have, you do you go for it. And oh wait, I do want to see what Good Vibes got, and then I will continue with instructing. Oh, that is a good haul, Good Vibes. Rock on. Okay, so I'm going to take my wire, and so I'm going to start at the bottom. So the design that I'm going to be working with is a pretty basic cascade design. So I've picked 2 larger labradorite teardrops for the bottom, and then I'm just going to stack 2 smaller labradorite teardrops on top of them, going up the chain to the ear wire. So it's a pretty simple design, and if you want to make a cascade, that's the easiest way to do it, is just take your chain, one at the bottom, and then just kind of alternate them side to side to side, as long as you want your earring to be. Since I don't want this tutorial to go for 8,000 hours, you know, we're doing a fairly short earring this evening. So I'm going to take my 26 gauge wire, and it's going to go through my labradorite like so, so that I have a long side and a short side. Okay, so my long side is most of the entirety of my wire, and my short side is going to be about 1.5 inches to 1.5 inches. Oftentimes I will work with this shorter, closer to 1 inch piece. That can be a little bit more difficult, so once again, do whatever's comfortable for you, and especially if you're using practice wire, don't short yourself on your wire, because it's just going to make everything harder. I'm going to take my wire, and I'm going to bend it up against the holes of my bead to make the triangle. And this is the part where, if you've used a wire that's too thick, you run the risk of popping the top off of your bead, because you can actually see the hole there, and you can see that there's not a whole lot of material above the hole. So again, this is why you want to make sure that, first of all, you're doing this ideally with dead soft wire, and that you're using a wire that's thin enough that it's not going to stress the hole in that bead, because nobody wants a stressed bead. I mean, really. I mean, I think most of the time I'm a stressed bead, but nobody wants a stressed bead. Alright, so now that I have made that triangle, I have, again, my short wire, and I have my long wire, so they're crossing, essentially making an X, and you want to position the point of that triangle, first of all, as close to the point of your bead as you can, without actually, you know, going down in front or behind the point of the bead. And second of all, you want it to be aligned over the central axis of your bead. That way your bead will hang straight. I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers now, and I'm going to grab that longer wire, like so, right above the point where those 2 wires cross. Okay, so I'm grabbing the longer of the 2 wires with my pliers, again, right above the point where those 2 wires are crossing. My ring light is in the way. There we go. Like, you can see it, but I can't. And then I'm just going to take this and just really gently do a slight bend with my chain nose. And I always tell my students that it's because people, when they're doing this, they have a tendency to, when they're bending, to lift up and bend. And it's not a lift up and bend, it's actually like a press down and bend, so that you get this. So what I have now is I have taken my long wire and I've centered it over the central axis of my bead. So if I were to take an imaginary line, draw it through my bead, it would extend directly out through that wire at the top. Now the other thing that students tend to do, sometimes out of just nervous habit, sometimes out of the compulsion to fix something that's not actually wrong, is they will grab this wire and they will pull on it and try and straighten it out. I know, see, Keiko, I was going for some of the less loved labradorite, and this one is really pretty. you need that bend. That bend is what enables you to actually make a centered wrap and for your teardrop to hang straight. So resist the urge to grab this long wire and pull on it. You just want to let it do its thing. Just make sure that that bend is nice and sharp. And then I do this with my fingers, okay? I don't use my pliers for this part because, ooh, yay! Hooray for hubby supporting the bead habit. So there's really, if you did a good job of getting this close to your teardrop, there's really not room to get a pliers in there. So I will do this with my fingers. So I will hold, and I'm right-handed, so I'm holding the bead with my right hand and my wire with my left hand, and I'm kind of simultaneously rotating the bead and pulling on this wire to wrap it around. And this is why I say don't short yourself on this wire, because if you give yourself nothing to hang on to, it's going to be really hard to make nice tight little wraps. So we want to go around 1.5, 2 times, not more than that, because we don't want this wrap to be super long. And we want our wraps to be nice and tight together, like so, and we want them to be tight to our core wires. So we want them to basically be as unobtrusive as possible. Okay, so there's my first wrap. And now, after we've done that, the short wire can go away. Short wire is going to get trimmed off. Long wire, don't trim that, we need that. And so the trick, one of the tricks to getting your wire cut off nice and close is take the flat side of your cutters, make sure that that is facing towards your coil. Use a sharp cutter with a fine point and then get as close to the tip as you can, then just snip off. And ideally, if you did it well, you're going to have a minimum amount of wire that you just need to very gently press down with your chain nose pliers so that it curves in with the rest of your coils, like so. Now we're going to do our second wire wrap, which is our basic wire wrap. So this is a technique that we've done on the Beading Dream stream a lot, like a lot. Because in my opinion, this is one of the most fundamental techniques that you can learn, and there's so many things you can do with it, including what we're about to do. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to place them so that my pliers are touching the top of that wrap that I've already made. So that 1.5 coils that I made, I want to rest my pliers gently right against that, and I want to grab my wire gently but firmly. Not like that, but like this. So the idea here being that you need to hold your wire firmly enough that it's not just going to slip around and, you know, wobble about, but if you hold with too much pressure, if you grab with too much pressure and you just hulk out on it, what you're going to do is you're going to essentially cut through your wire with your pliers, just because the design of the pliers means that there's a whole lot of pressure on those inner jaws, and you don't want to do that. So gently but firmly. And Lori, I'll try and take it as slow as I can for you, because it's not like you haven't posted lots of gorgeous wire wrap things lately. Okay, so I've got my pliers, they're touching the top of my wire wrap, and now I'm going to take my pliers are in my dominant hand, so my pliers are in my right hand. So with my left hand, I'm going to push that wire away from me over my pliers, so that makes a 90-degree angle. Then I'm going to loosen my pliers, rotate them just 1/8 of a turn up, and grab again. So now I've grabbed on that little corner that I just made. Now, this is the part, for anybody who isn't well versed in this technique, this is the part that's a little counterintuitive for a lot of people. So what a lot of people want to do is they want to push this underneath the pliers, and that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do. So you want to pull it back up over the top of the pliers and down. So see now how I'm starting to form a loop around my pliers? And then I'm going to loosen my pliers, rotate them out of the way, grab again, and then finish that rotation in the same direction to make our ever so popular lady with a scarf. So that's what we call this particular part in the construction process, where you have a loop but you've not yet wrapped it closed. Because now what we have to do is we have to attach it onto the end of our chain. I mean, I like Lori Unfiltered. Lori Unfiltered can come on stream anytime. Well, okay, so there's a lesson there, which is make sure you close your ear wires all the way. Because I didn't, and my chain just fell off of it. So, even those of us who have been doing this for a really long time, hi Julie, are not infallible. So what happened just then was I had not closed my ear wire all the way, and so my chain just fell womp womp right off of it. So, you know what? We're wire wrapping. You know how to do that. But thanks for joining. But anyway, better let it fall off now than you make a pair of earrings and all of a sudden you get home from your day at work or at home, or not, you get home from your day at home. Yeah, that's not how that works, Allison. But you get home from your day and all of a sudden you've got one earring and just one ear wire in your ear, and who the heck knows where the other earring has gotten off to. So double check your closures, y'all. That is your moral of the story for today. But now that I put that back on, I'm going to take, again, my end link of chain, and I'm going to put my wire through there, and then like so. And now I am going to use my pliers. So the way that I will hold this is I will place my pliers across my wire loop. So notice I'm spanning both sides of that loop with my pliers, and the goal here is to stabilize the loop of wire. Now if you wind up grabbing, like I have, if you wind up grabbing your chain in the process, that's fine, but that's not the goal. The goal is to grab this loop of wire, stabilize it, and then we're going to wrap around another typically 1.5 wraps until we meet the end of wire that's already there. And then we trim. Again, nice and close. And then, I can't see. So then we're just going to press that down. And one of the reasons I like working bottom to top on oh my god, I saw the Decat the dishwasher. That was pretty funny. Oh, I have the cutest picture of Elton that I have to post in pet photos. One of the reasons I love working bottom to top in an earring like this is this could be an earring all by itself. So if I, after wire wrapping 2 beads, am like, nope, I am not feeling this tonight, I still have a wearable pair of earrings, and I can always add more beads onto them later. That's my little tricky reason that I like to work from the bottom up, because I can stop at any time. You don't know when I'm going to stop. Probably when I've finished the earrings, but you know. Okay, so now we're going to do the second one, and this is my other little sneak trick. And this is more a tricking myself kind of thing, because sometimes I don't have the longest attention span when it comes to making things like complicated earrings. I love complicated earrings. I love wearing them, and I do actually like making them, but sometimes there are other pressing things that I start to get on my mind that I need to do instead. I'm just making this wink at Keiko while I'm talking, just to drive her crazy. I'm going to work one earring, then the other earring, and then the one earring and the other earring, rather than doing an entire earring and then trying to do another entire earring, because once again, that way I can stop whenever I want to. Why? Are you going to come take it from me, Keiko? Come and take it. Come take my Labradorite from my cold, dead fingers. I know! See, I love the gold flash, and I just feel like it does not get as much love as it should. Okay, so once again, I've got my wire through my bead. Now I'm going to bend that up against the hole in my bead. And here's the other reason that you want a thinner wire that's more malleable is, I'm actually putting a decent amount of pressure against the hole in the bead. Now you want to back that. Hi, Ace! You want to back that off if you're using something delicate like an apatite or a tanzanite or an opal, but Labradorite's pretty sturdy, so it can take the pressure. Now I'm going to grab my chain nose, and I'm going to grab the long wire directly above the point where those two wires cross, like so, and then just, again, press down, bend back, so that we have our wire centered up above the central axis of the teardrop. And then again, I'm going to do this with my fingers. So the trick here, there are a couple of tricks, in my opinion. Number one, make sure you have a firm hold of the bead. Number two, I may brace my fingers against this longer wire, but I'm going to try not to actually move this longer wire. In my mind, the longer wire is steady and still, and the shorter wire coils around it. So that's the visual that I'm kind of working off of. So even though you will see me touch this wire, I'm trying not to move it. What I'm trying to move is the short wire here, and I want to do my first wrap as close as I can to that bend that I made, and then again 1.5 to 2 wraps, no more, because you don't want this to be really long and gangly. And then we're going to trim like so and press down. So this is sorry, old eyes. So this is what I oftentimes refer to as bead on a stick, because essentially what you've made at this point is a beaded head pin. So you could take another bead, a center drilled bead, put that onto the wire, and have an earring. I mean, that's maybe a little chunky for an earring, but you know, or a pendant or a drop. So this is something that you can do to make your pieces a little bit more interesting. Also, if it's 2 a.m. and you are throwing dishes all over the place like Carol is, but if it's, you know, if it's 2 a.m. and you don't have any head pins, this is a way you can also hack a head pin using a teardrop. So now we're going to go to phase 2, which is the basic wire wrap. So again, that's going to be my round nose pliers holding so that they are touching the top of my bead, and we're just going to go away, rotate, back up over the top, remember back, not under, back, and then under to make Our Lady with a scarf. So it's that back and then forward thing that doesn't always, sometimes it takes a little time to sink in. It's 2 a.m. Do you know where your head pins are? I never know where my head pins are, Keiko. My head pins are at Beading Dreams, which, contrary to popular belief, is not where I actually live. I live somewhere else, and I do not know where the head pins in that place are, ever. If I find one, it's by luck, not by skill. And especially since, like unto what we did here at the Beading Dreams, when we were preparing for the television shoot, which was basically all of the mess went in the back room. And most of it's still there. I was preparing for my mother to come and visit, so all of the mess went into the office, or my bedroom. So like the office is just stacked like 4 deep with everything right now. It is a hot mess of a thing, and I can't find anything in there at the moment. So, you know, projects for weekends upcoming, but for now, back to earrings. Also, I just want to give a shout out and say that Carol is awesome, because she worked by herself for an hour today while I was teaching Swifties how to make bracelets, and she rocked it as always. So
lucky with some amazing customers.
So just shouting that out to the world at large so that everybody knows. Not that you didn't know already, but now you extra know. Okay, and so once again, I'm going to hold this across my loop like so. So I'm stabilizing once again the loop of the wire. Keiko says, thank you for your bravery. Keiko also says that she can confirm that I do not live at Beading Dreams, and also that I actually sleep sometimes. See? Witnesses. Proof positive. And so then I'm going to wrap down until I reach the end of wire that's already there. And you'll notice, since this is a longer piece of wire, it's easier for me to grab this and pull on it so I can get nice clean wraps. So once again, you know, just to beat this deceased horse a little bit more, this is why it really doesn't pay to short yourself on your wire, especially when you're learning, because again, it's really just going to make everything harder. So again, if I wanted to be like, peace out, yo, I have a pair of earrings. but I can add more glitz to them. And why the heck wouldn't I do that? I mean, come on. If you have more labradorite, why wouldn't you put it on your earrings? Because as we all know, there is no such thing as Labrador wrong. Okay, so I'm going to go through this now a little bit faster so that you can kind of get an idea of like what my regular working pace would be if I were just doing these earrings. So I've got my two, and I did, like, the fourth one of this bunch is just, I can't find a, now I'm just being obsessive about the fact that I can't find a fourth one that plays well with these. Okay, maybe we'll do that one. And they're all pretty. None of them are Labrador wrong, but yet still I'm being picky. Okay, so I've got these four, and I've got two bigger ones and two smaller ones. So I'm going to do a decreasing in size cascade, which again is pretty standard. So I've got the big one on the bottom, and then I'm going to have the second biggest one above it, and the third biggest one, also known in this particular instance as the smallest one, above that. So I'm going to grab this. And okay, so here's another trick, and then I'll show you what my normal working pace is, but here's another trick. If you have a hole that is a little bit crooked and your wire doesn't really want to go into it, rather than trying to shove your wire all the way through, if you can get it through just a little bit and then grab it with your pliers and pull it through, that is the best way to get your wire through a stubborn hole. Now, you gotta be careful. This is one of those, and now I'm just gonna work and talk. This is one of those things where, you know, you gotta know how far you can push it, because that is an instance where you could break the top off of your bead. That being said, you're going to break the top off of some beads. It is inevitable. It is unavoidable. Of course, you know, they're never the beads you're like, well, I don't care about these beads anyway. Oh no, they're the beads like, you are my precious little baby and I just decapitated you. Oh my God. It happens. It's going to happen. Just accept it, breathe through it, and continue onward. That was the worst lady with a scarf I think I've ever made, including when I was learning how to do this, which was a long time ago. There, it's a better lady, but I took her off camera and fixed her because she was really wonky. Okay, so now where am I going to put her? Where do I want to put this lady with a scarf? And so that's going to depend on a couple of things. It's going to depend on how long you want your earring to be. It's going to depend on how full you want your earring to be. And you can, you know, there are a lot of different design choices you can make here. You could cluster all of the labradorites at the bottom and still have, you know, a lot of the chain showing at the top. Or you can distribute them a little bit more evenly, which is what I think I'm going to do today. So what I want to do is I'm just going to go up several links of chain. So I think I'm going to go up to this one here. Take my lady, thread that onto my chain, and put her all the way on like that. And then once again, I'm going to hold with my pliers, and my goal is to stabilize that wire loop that I just made, and then I'm going to wrap. And when you're working on an earring or anything like this, you know, sometimes it's hard to get your brain past like all this other stuff that's kind of floating in the way that you have to deal with. But as long as you concentrate on the goal, keep your eye on the prize, you know, and you know that the goal is to stabilize that wire loop, then you're going to wind up doing the right thing. So next earring, and again through. And yes, have I done this enough that I could probably do it in my sleep? Of course. Have I done it in my sleep? Probably several times over the years. Do I dream about it? Occasionally I still do, yes. And not in a happy, fluffy way. Usually there's some sort of deadline involved. And then, so that was step 1, bead on a stick. Now we go to step 2, basic wire wrap loop. I mean, that's not just you, Keiko. That's a lot of people. A lot of people get decision paralysis when faced with too many choices. And it's why not everybody does well at gem shows. And I don't mean does well like, you know, makes money, but like some people can't handle gem shows. Which is, and again, hold across and wrap. You know, which is one of the great things, not to toot my own horn, but toot, here it comes. I think one of the great things about a more boutique small business like ours is first of all, we've got docents for you to guide you, and we don't have infinite possibilities. Like, I can't stock infinite possibilities. I can only stock a finite number of possibilities, and of course I try and have those curated and, to be the best possible possibilities. That didn't quite come out the way I intended it to, but you know what I mean. Shopping in a smaller space, shopping in a more curated environment can help with that. Though some people would still say that this is an overwhelming environment. So, takes all kinds. But we are here to help. And it's been a long time. Hey, Corvus! I got live. Almost on time. Like, not completely on time, but for me, I was pretty timely today. And I'm making earrings with labradorite. Look at that. I decided to grab some gold flash lab because I feel like it doesn't quite get as much love as like its blue flash brethren. Oh, come on. Give me a wink for Corvus. There we go. See? Winky, winky. This one's a little bit more winky. See? Winky, winky, winky. That one was winking at Keiko earlier. So we're doing Chain of Tears earrings because I did promise you guys a teardrop tutorial after the teardrop sale the other night. So I've got 2 more drops and then they're finished. So yeah, notifications, what the heck. Tomorrow night is Zoom, by the way. I think Heather did send out the email, so we will be on Zoom tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And I'll get to see all of your shiny, happy faces, or not happy faces. I don't require that you be happy to be on Zoom. I'm happy to see your face in whatever state it happens to be in. Sometimes my face is not shiny and happy on Zoom. Okay, well, usually it's shiny because I have oily skin, but it's not always happy. That's just, apparently I'm just full of them tonight. Okay, so, triangle. Grab it with your pliers, bend it straight up. So again, keep your eye on the goal here. Like, if you can't figure out what you're supposed to do with your pliers, think of the shape you're trying to create, which is this, and then figure out how to move your pliers to create that shape. So if you can't remember the technique, but you can remember the goal, you can break it down and make it work. All right, so now I'm going to, again, short one around the long one, using my fingers. Some people will try and get their pliers in there and hold while they're doing this. I just find that I like my triangle to be so close to the top of my teardrop that there's literally no room for my pliers. There is room for that lab to wink at Corvus though. And then we're going to go ahead and trim that off. And I don't know if I ever shouted out Corvus either for getting the first 2 episodes of the Button List edited and live, because she is also a boss and amazing. And I know I texted you, but the editing on that second one was really good. Okay, so now basic wire wrap loop. Okay. Alright. So, lady with the scarf. There we are. This is really annoying. Like, my ring light is like right in front of my screen and I cannot see what I'm doing at all. So I'm just hoping and praying that everything is in focus, which it is, so yay me. Good job me. So now I'm going to take my lady with the scarf and grab an earring, and I'm going to go up a few more loops, and put that on there like so. I personally like it to be a little bit more symmetrical like this, so I will put one on one side of the chain, one on the other side of the chain. You don't have to do that. That's totally up for you. up to you, also up for you if you want. And then wrap down till you meet the end that's already there. This is a little bit of a long wrap, but that's okay because it still looks pretty decent. There's my focal distance. Maybe I was doing better when I just wasn't paying attention to the focus. There we go. So there's my wrap, and we're going to trim and press it down like so. And that, folks, is actually, that's a completed earring right there. Corvus says Lori should say hi to the labs for her. Okay, so now we're playing wire chicken. And so this is a piece of wire that is 2.5 inches long. So theoretically, this is enough wire for me to do a wire wrap on this stone, and I will demonstrate that in a minute by doing a wire wrap on this stone using this piece of wire. Again, for the 8,000th time, don't do this to yourself if you're learning, and don't do this to yourself unless you have to. Like, you know, if this is your last piece of wire in the house, then, you know, go with God. But if you can cut yourself a longer piece of wire, I highly recommend that you do so. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And again, I should take my own advice and get this through the hole and then pull it with my pliers. That happens to me. Okay, so this one's actually, this hole might be too small. That happens to me too, Keiko. And then you get, and it glitches like right in the middle, and then all of a sudden you get something that's like, what the heck is that? Like, whose name did I just sign? And here's hoping that they don't check the signature card at the bank, because that was wonky as heck. And I mean, I have a terrible signature anyway from back in the day when I was in the car business and had to sign a million things. Yeah, okay, so this hole legit is really too small for this 26 gauge wire. I could get up and get 28 gauge, or I could get another stone. I'm going to go for another stone because they're right here. Alright, well, you have now been elected. Excuse me. And if, son of a, maybe I'm not using that piece of wire. I don't like that piece of wire. Maybe it don't like me. But anyway. And Lori brings up a good point that she has actually sussed out how much wire she needs for a basic wire wrap. They're not with teardrops. And if you're purchasing wire for a project, it is kind of important that you, okay, none of these beads are going to fit on this wire because it's the end of the tutorial, and the universe knows that I'm so close to being done with my long ass work day. Okay, this one works. Oh, Corvus. So it's important that you know, kind of have a rough idea of how much wire you need to buy for your project. So what I will typically tell people, and sometimes people are shocked and aghast at this number, but it really is, you know, especially once again, if you're learning, I will say you need minimum 2 to 3 inches for each top drilled wire wrap. And part of that is because of the waste, because waste is inevitable with this, because you literally cannot hold the wire at its very end. And second of all, it's because of the, you know, me trying to keep you, the student wire wrapper, from making your life harder. So there's my lady with the scarf. Now what I want to do is I want to go to my first earring and I want to just see where did I put that, which is the second one down from the hook. So I'm going to do the same thing on this earring, and I do want to put it on the opposite side if I can, like so. Just make double sure. Yes, that's where it wants to go. So we're just going to put that on there. Hold across and wrap. And so see, I mean, it's awkward. Having all that junk in the way is awkward. I'm not saying it isn't, but once again, just keep your brain on what you're trying to do, and it's going to make it a lot easier to kind of tune out the weird, noisy, awkward things and focus in on how do I need to hold the pliers to make this happen. And there we go. That is it. That's Chain of Tears earrings. I could keep adding and adding and adding and adding teardrops onto these as much as I wanted to. Obviously at some point they're going to get a little bit too heavy to wear, so you do want to keep that in mind. But that is your refresher of basic top drilled wire wrapping, again because we had the teardrop sale last week, so I promised you guys a teardrop refresher. So here they are, my Chain of Tears labradorite earrings. They're gonna focus in any time now. Nope. Womp womp. Focus. They're really pretty. Come on, camera. Nope. It's just not gonna do it. But you can see the winking. There we go. Yay! Technological success. So yeah, so there's my labradorite earrings. So they did turn out really pretty, and hey, guess what? They're for sale. So if anybody wants to claim these, they would be probably around $70 before discounts. All right, and that's gonna be it for us tonight. Not even us, me, because Heather is off vacationing. She's on a much-deserved vacation. Well, they're labradorite, so therefore they go with everything, and the gold flash is really nice. Goes with, because I like gold jewelry, so maybe they'll live on my ears for a little while until I sell them. But yeah, so that's it for me tonight on the Beading Dreams stream. There will also be Heatherless tomorrow night because she will still be living it up in Vegas. And oh my god, tomorrow night I have to tell you about the house I was at for a kid's birthday party. Today we were out on the patio, which I swear to God, the patio on this house was bigger than the entire flat that I live in. The family was really nice though, and the kids had a really good time. So I will see you guys all on Zoom. I hope. I better see you on Zoom. Keiko, Corvus, Lori. I know I'll see Lori on Zoom. But see you guys on Zoom tomorrow night, 6 p.m.-ish. And I think that's going to be it for us. So I will catch y'all on Zoom tomorrow, and then we're back on twitch.tv/beadingdream Wednesday of next week with something fun and new for you to learn. So thank you all so much, and everyone have a great night. Bye!